What you're about to see is the site of the earliest known bridge over the Thames, the first London bridge if you like. Stretching between the mouth of the river Effra on the right bank and the mouth of the Tyburn on the left, it dates between about 1500 BC, exactly the right time for Albyne, first Queen of Britain, and 500 BC, exactly the right time for Brutus, sovereign paramount. Initially thought to be a jetty, an archaeological dig by Time Team in April of 2001 at an exceptionally low tide revealed the remains of oak piles which indicated not a jetty but a bridge. Thought to connect to an island with sacred significance, I'm not aware that any archaeological work has been undertaken on the opposite bank which would either prove or disprove this. The oldest map I can find which shows this part of the river is John Norden's fenced hunting grounds map of 1610, and there is no island here, although there is a cluster at and beyond Mortlake. Once again, we must consider the likelihood, or otherwise, of going to the trouble of constructing a bridge halfway across the Thames when a ferry would have been far cheaper and far less trouble. John Rock's map of 1746 shows a ferry in the right place, and who's to say how long ago the first ferry was run? Bearing in mind currents of the Thames, it's hardly likely that subsequent ferry runners would have moved it elsewhere. Modern archaeologists are generally unaware of the spiritual significance to the British not only of bridges, but also the tops of the tides, that is, where a river ceases to be tidal. Totnes in Devon, for example, was built 9 miles upriver, where the Dart ceases to be tidal. Although the Thames nowadays ceases to be tidal at Teddington Lock, in the Bronze Age the marshes slowed this rate down so that the top of the tide reached to Vauxhall, exactly where this bridge was found. This is proved by the finding of diatoms, say Cookson and Matthews, which are found only between the sea and the tidal head, in the sediment from the foreshore. Furthermore, 2 spearheads were discovered which appear to have been deliberately driven into the ground rather than broken and discarded, as in battle. This would indicate a certain ritual aspect to the site chosen for the bridge, which was acknowledged by the archaeologists. In the Great Migrations, I examine the significance of the oval cricket ground round which curl the upper reaches of the Neckinger, a relatively modern name. These upper reaches used to be called the Tygris. If my ideas about the name of the other significant river on the Surrey side of the Thames are correct, then we have not only the Tygris in the Neckinger, but also the Euphrates in the Effra. The Effra was also known as the Wash, like the Fens in Cambridgeshire, where Troy was, and also the Shore, as in Shoreditch. Shore is a version of sewer. It runs to the south of the Oval, originally a British paradise or ellipse, and Old Paradise Road is nearby in Lambeth. The old name of Clapham High Street is Babylon, and where it meets Camberwell New Road at the Oval is an exact T-cross. Incidentally, John Norden's map shows that Southwark and London Bridge form an equal armed cross. The Neckinger or Tigris rises not far from the outfall of the Effra, which is about 100 yards upstream of Vauxhall Bridge. All this supports the notion that the Surrey side of the river was a stronghold of Albyne. As for the name of Vauxhall, I conjecture that so far from stemming from Middle English Vauxhall, it is most likely to stem from the Welsh-British foss, meaning ditch, trench, dike, as the estuary of the Effra meets the Thames here, and foss is pronounced with the British long O, force. It could also have been ford, meaning way, road or passage, just like our English word ford. With the estuary of the Tyburn opposite on the left bank of the Thames, this would have been a most significant confluence, akin to the meeting of the Trent, the Ouse and the Humber estuary. The Humber is not a river. There is a Vauxhall in Liverpool as well, which further militates against the names having stemmed from a personal name, especially as the River Mersey runs along the west side of the area, exactly as the Thames runs by its own Vauxhall. And what of London Bridge itself, gateway to the city, which Percy Enderby calls the most ancient city of the island, and which I have shown was built in about 1130 BC, exactly as the British records say? The inhabitants of Troynovant will not have found it convenient to walk the couple of miles from the City of London to the Tyburn to use the bridge, so it is said that a ferry ran from the bottom of Watling Street to Southwark. But Watling Street was never close to the Thames. It joins the top of Fish Street Hill, which runs down to the river bank. We have no way of knowing whether there was a bridge here before the so-called Roman one was constructed, halfway between the Walbrook, the original west boundary of New London, and the Tower of London, built by Belinus, Brutus's grandson, in about 400 to 375 BC. But happily there's so much revising going on now that we might strike lucky and find the remains of another long pre-Roman bridge here too. Or, if we're even luckier, we'll find that the so-called Roman bridge, thought to have been constructed in AD 50, was not Roman at all. Here's hoping.